49ers update here from the airport. I'm heading to the Bay Area for training camp. And because it seems that Jauan Jennings might hold in when 49ers practice begins this week, the 49ers have worked out 6 wide receivers at their team facility, including Equanimeous St. Brown, the older brother of Amon-Ra St. Brown, the star receiver for the Detroit Lions. San Francisco also brought in a quarterback, Spence Petras. He's from San Rafael, went to Marin Catholic. It's where Jared Goff played his prep ball. And I think they did that so they would have a QB to throw to these 6 receivers. So Equanimeous St. Brown, he's 6'5", 28-year-old, went to Notre Dame. Also played for the Chicago Bears. He worked out for the 49ers. He'd be a veteran in the room to help fill out the wide receiver competition for this training camp. Brandon Powell, he's the shortest of the bunch, 5'8" receiver, was with the Rams when they won the Super Bowl a few years back. He can also return some punts. He was one of the guys who worked out for San Francisco. He is 29 years old. So he and St. Brown, the 2 older receivers in the bunch, along with Stanley Morgan Jr., 28-year-old, was with the Titans last. He's 6 feet tall. Stanley Morgan had a dad who played in the NFL a couple decades ago. Then there was Grant Dubose, 6'2", 24-year-old receiver, one of the taller targets that the 49ers brought in. Dubose has already been a 49er, but not a San Francisco 49er. He played for the Charlotte 49ers in college. There is a 49ers mascot in college football. Dubose played for the Packers and the Dolphins. So you could see some connections here to the scheme. The Packers, obviously, with Matt LaFleur, it's a scheme that's related to what Kyle Shanahan runs. And the Dolphins, well, they've got Mike McDaniel. Dubose, though, he had a severe head injury last year, had to be hospitalized after taking a big hit. So obviously, it seems that he's been medically cleared to play, at least medically cleared to work out and try out for the 49ers. But you always have to keep a player's health in mind. Quintez Cephas, you might have heard of him. He was with the Rams and the Texans last year. He's a 27-year-old, 6'1" receiver, one of the guys that worked out for the 49ers. And Ramel Keaton, 24-year-old, the youngest of the bunch. He's 6'2", was with the Raiders last season. So Powell, St. Brown, Dubose, Quintez Cephas, Ramel Keaton, and Stanley Morgan work out for the 49ers, and so does Spence Petras, although we suspect that Petras is there to throw to all of these receivers. Now, we've talked so much about the 49ers receiver room and the fact that Ricky Pearsall probably is going to be activated off of PUP at some point soon, unless there's a setback that we hadn't heard of coming off the hamstring tweak in OTA. So Pearsall is going to be very important. 49ers hope that he's at training camp practice sooner rather than later. Jauan Jennings, though, is the top receiver on this football team, and he obviously is upset with his contract and the 49ers, and Jennings still negotiating, still trying to figure something out. And if it comes to a hold-in for Jauan Jennings, they need more bodies in that receiver room. I'm pulling up the depth chart right now. I know I'm at the airport on my way to training camp, so I don't think I'm going to have time to toss the depth chart up at the screen, but I can just tell you where the 49ers might be. Demarcus Robinson is going to be practicing for San Francisco at training camp, but there's a chance that he is suspended. In fact, I would say it's probably a good chance that he's suspended for the start of the season. So that opens up a lot of opportunities when it does come to competition at 49ers training camp. In fact, once practice does start on Wednesday, I think there's going to be a big spotlight on their draft pick, Jordan Watkins, and on Jacob Cowing, who is in his second year, has added some muscle. There's been a lot of hype on Jacob Cowing over the course of this offseason. Well, he's going to have a chance to really carve out a productive role. Whenever he saw the field last year, he was productive, but I think he was a little too light to see the field all too often. So that added muscle, all the work that Jacob Cowing has put in, Arizona native, we know that he flew out to Jacksonville to work out with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones alongside Ricky Pearsall over the course of this offseason. Kyle Shanahan said that he's probably put in more work than anybody. Well, that's going to have a chance to shine over the course of this training camp. And then, everybody wants to talk about Tariq Owens and Isaiah Nair, maybe 2 of the most physically gifted receivers the 49ers have. And, of course, the draft pick, Junior Bergen, is somebody to keep an eye out on. Isaiah Hodgins, Russell Gage, and Malik Knowles round out the room. So I've just listed 12 receivers that the 49ers already have on the roster, although Two of them might not be available at the very start of training camp in Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall. They hope that Pearsall, again, is activated soon. And one, on top of that, might not be available for week one. That is DeMarcus Robinson, which is the combination of all that, plus Jauan Jennings, obviously not available for the start of training camp if he's holding in. We don't know for sure. But if that does happen, you could see why the 49ers just worked out 6 wide receivers today. St. Brown is the biggest of those names, probably because of his brother, big money receiver for the Detroit Lions in Amon-Ra St. Brown. Equanimeous is much taller, though, than Amon-Ra, coming in at 6'5". That's a fun family to track, right? You've got the German and the American connection there, and the kids all speak French, so I believe that Equanimeous also speaks some French, but he's got that German passport. We saw it all in the Receiver documentary series on Netflix last year. I think Equanimeous even made a few appearances there because the whole show tracked Amon-Ra St. Brown, George Kittle, and former 49er Deebo Samuel. I do know that Equanimeous St. Brown immediately goes into the Name Hall of Fame. The schematic connections are really interesting to me, and they make sense because at this time, so close to training camp, if you're going to bring somebody in, you're going to want them to be up to speed with the playbook. So somebody like Brandon Powell, played for the Rams, it's going to be a good schematic connection. Somebody like Equanimeous St. Brown, 28 years old, has been around the league, probably can pick up a playbook very quickly. He's picked up multiple languages, so maybe that helps with playbook knowledge. That's going to be somebody who can plug and play. Grant DeBose with the Packers and the Dolphins, scheme connections, most recently with Mike McDaniel. He should be able to pick things up quickly. Quintez Cephas, Rams and Texans. Bobby Slowick was with Houston. Those are scheme connections. Nothing there for Ramel Keaton, who was with the Raiders last year, but the 49ers, he's also the youngest player, so the 49ers probably see some upside with Ramel Keaton at 24 years old. And then, of course, Stanley Morgan was with the Titans, who up until recently had some 49ers connections. He's 28. And then, of course, the quarterback, Spence Petrus. Always got to bring in the Bay Area guy. Spence was at the 49ers local pro day. He actually went to Iowa, so he's teammates with Connor Colby, and that is George Kittle's alma mater. But the fact that he's from San Rafael, went to Marin Catholic, it's where Jared Goff starred. 49ers got a good look at him back in April at that local pro day, and now they could bring in Spence Petrus to throw to some wide receivers. There is an empty roster spot for San Francisco. They did release George Odom the other day. Odom had been on that NFI list, underwent an offseason procedure for an offseason injury, so they have an open roster spot. We do expect them to sign another player before this all starts on either Tuesday or Wednesday. Tomorrow, I'm flying to San Francisco right now. I will be in the facility. Wednesday, we'll take the practice field for the first time. That's it. We'll talk to you guys soon.